So this is a map from probably 780 or so, and it shows how different things were. You can see Livonia, you can see Croatia is still around, you can see Bulgaria, you can see the Byzantine Empire still around. At that time, you can see the Khazar Empire right there. You can see how large it was. And a lot of people say, oh, the Khazars, they ripped off the Jewish religion around 700 AD. And that's not exactly true, because all you have to do is get out of here, you idiots, is take a look at this. And it says, human sacrifice has long been associated with the rise of hierarchical centralized societies. Recent excavation of a large cyst tomb, 3rd millennia BC, at a place called Besser Hoyuk in Turkey, shows that state formation in Mesopotamia was accompanied by a fundamental change in the value of human life within local ritual economy. It goes on to talk about the osteological analysis that was done, and essentially this was 500 years before Ur. And so here you are, you had this trade route that had been around for a long time, and they were lying about things. They've been covering up things. All you have to do is go to the Royal Cemetery at Ur, UR, and you're going to see everything that I'm talking about. You are. It's not hard. And how does that relate to what I'm talking about with the Temple of the Mount? Well, the top of Mount Moriah is located somewhere between the Temple Mount and the Dome of the Rock. And this place has quite a history, probably a prehistoric history. If you look at Genesis 22, 1-14, God tells Adam to sacrifice Isaac, his only beloved son. Where did he tell him to sacrifice it? Around Moriah. And just as Abraham takes out his knife and is about to plunge it into the child's hip and then the child's head, God suddenly intervenes and, provides a ram in Isaac's stead. So, I got a problem with that story, folks. I really do. It seems to me that maybe Abraham was a Canaanite. And it seems to me that maybe the Israelites were Canaanites too. But back to our story. Here we are in this little tiny area, the Temple Mount and the Dome of the Rock. We go to David. And David, after receiving prophetic instructions from God, selects the future site of the temple at Mount Moriah. This is a place where God supposedly gathered the dust for Adam to create the first mankind. And supposedly an angel told God to tell David that an altar should be built on the threshing floor of Araunah, the Jebusite. So David goes to Araunah and he says, hey, Araunah, how much do you want for the site? And Araunah says, okay, 15 pounds of gold. David says, okay. And he builds an altar to God and sacrifices offerings. And God suddenly sends down a wall of flame onto the altar. So, pretty interesting story. It sounds like a child sacrificing peoples, the Canaanites, were actually also the Israelites. And remember that the Old Testament, Saul slew his 10,000s or 1,000s, and David slew his 10,000s, or smite, I believe. I remember he's going. At any rate, you got Solomon. God chooses Solomon, David's son, to build the temple. And Solomon is determined to build a great temple to honor God. And once again, he takes the property of Araunah, the Jebusite, right? And he starts to build it on that threshing floor, right? And so you got all these people who are worshiping this site, and then you have Jesus who comes along And what does he do? He overturns the tables twice. And so it would seem to me that common sense says that Jesus was upset about child sacrifice, not about the sanctity of a place that obviously had sacrifices, if you look at the Abrahamic history. So that's why I come up with different conclusions. I don't know if I'm right. I could be very wrong. But to me, it would seem an interesting thing to start digging down and get to the evidence. I think with the Temple Mount, it would be very important to find out what's under there. And it would be weird if, they did some fake terrorism to blow up the place so they can build a third temple, because that to me would be covering up evidence, and maybe it was a place of child sacrifice for a long time, and the temples were built to hide it. Just a thought. Merry Christmas, everybody.